So we've been talking about the idea of removing the CSR from the FNOL process. It's our contention that the way the customer interacts with the carrier for the first time sets up how that claim is going to go. The information that the customer imparts in the very first conversations is most often the most truthful, the most direct, and is not in any way, shape, and form varnished or changed depending on who they've spoken with, or they've gotten their story straight, or or they're trying to not tell you this or not tell you that. So, although we've often talked about how having all of our communication recorded, whether through video or through recorded audio, all the communication of the claim being recorded is incredibly important. We're not specifically gearing it towards fraud detection, but more often than not, an experienced adjuster has the ability of taking that initial claim. The insured is a little nervous. Typically, they're much more willing to have longer conversations about exactly what happened and may give away details that will be incredibly beneficial down the road in the claims investigation cycle. Again, that's one byproduct or one benefit of putting an experienced adjuster at the FNOL, because they can do something that no sophisticated scripting can ever do by asking just the right questions, because they're asking the question genuinely, not because they're following a script as would a CSR. And again, this is no intended knock on the CSR. They're just simply there to gather the data and put it in, but the dynamic is all, the data that they gather is always sort of linear. It has no depth to it at all. It's just sort of skimming the surface. And so what we found in doing our AFNOL process, or the adjuster FNOL process, is by marrying the adjuster to the insured at FNOL, it allows the adjuster to get so much better information and make intelligent decisions on mitigation, on dispatching vendors, on performing mitigation services, that the benefits go far beyond just the initial intake of information. It's a recurring theme with all of our carrier partners. They all see the value in it. They all are excited about having this as an additional quiver to ultimately reduce claim cycle time. But again, it's about capturing the right information early on. So yes, I mean, we certainly have the conversations with the carriers. It's one that they're completely on board with, and are excited to see how the data proves that out over the course of the next few months and years. So to answer your question, it is both. It is getting the workforce to buy into it. Getting management to buy into it is not very difficult at all, because most management, certainly much of the management that we work with, all came from the claims handling side. So they intrinsically understand that an adjuster handling an FNOL is better than a CSR. So that's not the challenge. The challenge from a personnel standpoint is retasking and retooling adjusters to make that leap and to buy into that and not be disgruntled. And then the second challenge is actually operational. It's having the systems, the processes, and the software and hardware to effectively do the job. Taking in an FNOL script is, again, they all have that ability right now. So with very little implementation, you can use your existing system, replace the person, and have taken the giant step forward in getting better people on the phones at early onset, taking the FNOL. But if they're not the ones handling the claim all the way through, there's a distribution issue, there's an assignment issue, there's any number of issues that stem from that. We've had some carriers who have distributed the new claims workflow across the entire department. We've had some that have simply earmarked 3 and 4, 5, 6, 10 particular adjusters who are very, very good at the FNOL process and dedicated them to, they've lightened their caseload and added the additional FNOL component to what they do. So there's a number of possible solutions to that, but it's got to be thought through and planned out. Setting expectations, right? So how much time do we talk about setting expectations properly in the claims process? Well, the FNOL to the consumer is the claims process. So if I call you, you're the insurance carrier, and I'm John Q. homeowner, and I say, yeah, you know, it's been raining the last 4 or 5 days. I got water in my house. I don't know where it's coming from, but I got water rolling in all over the place. I don't know how to stop it. I need to file a claim. What am I supposed to do? So your CSR will probably read through a script and go, okay, water in the house, stop the water. Okay, you need to stop the water. I don't know how to stop it from raining. Okay, well, next point, well, we need to get somebody out there to dry your house down. Okay, so have you contacted a water mitigation company or you know, a vendor to stop the water from coming into your house? Well, no. Well, you need to do that. Your policy tells you that you need to mitigate your damages. Again, this is from a standard CSR script. Okay, I'll call ServiceMaster or ServPro or somebody like that. I'll get them to come out and dry my house down. Little do you know, as the, you know, or little do I know in that example as the policyholder, the cause of loss that I'm describing is flood, which is specifically not covered under the homeowner policy. So it's now 24 hours later. The adjuster calls you and says, oh, I see here you had water coming in. Where was it coming in at? Oh, around these doors and through these windows. Mr. Smith, that sounds to me like you had flood coming in. Was it water everywhere around your house? Yeah. I'm sorry, that's not covered. But wait, your guy told me to call this guy, told me to do this. He gave me every indication that this is covered. What are you talking about? And so rather than, that is a very common scenario where the insured will call in and explain a claim that is clearly not covered, but instead of giving them the answers right now, Mr. Smith, do you have a flood policy? Yes, great. Here's who you need to call. Let me walk you through that process. Here's the way to file that claim. Rather than starting him down a path and have him a day later or 2 days later go, no, I'm sorry, this is not covered. So again, setting expectations is ultimately what the carrier has the most control of. And we would argue that some are doing it very, very well, and some have some areas they can improve upon. And so if you set the expectation properly at the FNOL, it just goes a long, long way towards the resolution of the claim. No, I mean, you know, ultimately, we want our carrier partners to recognize that we believe that there's a better way to handle claims across the board, and that the FNOL process is but a piece of that larger puzzle. But getting their buy-in early on has been incredibly instrumental in opening up the doors for other possibilities to ultimately reduce the cycle time of claims. We say on the claim side, getting better information or getting better data quicker affords the reduction in cycle time. FNOL is no different. Taking action upon better data with better trained individuals, adjuster instead of CSR, is what sets the claim up for its ultimate conclusion. So don't squander the FNOL process as just name, policy number, tell me what happened. It is an opportunity to perform service and provide value to your customer.